is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a rapidly developing situation in the Bay of Campeche. Invest 91L is currently organizing and developing at a very fast pace. Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance is currently out there, and we'll be taking a quick look at what they're finding out there. Also tracking what else is going on potentially for parts of Florida and the East Coast and the main development region as well for tropical developments. So we're going to be going ahead and getting right into it today. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the National Hurricane Center. So here's the situation that we have right here. This now has a 70% chance of formation in the next 7 days. So essentially what happened was when we were streaming last night, this was at a 30% probability of formation in the next 48 hours and 7 days. So it was a 30-30 probability. Now it's a 70-70 at this current point. And let's go ahead and read out this advisory. Recent satellite imagery, surface observations, and radar data from Mexico suggests a well-defined surface circulation is developing with the area of low pressure in the Bay of Campeche near the Mexican coastline. In addition, shower and thunderstorm activity is starting to show signs of organization. If these trends continue, a tropical depression is likely to form, possibly as soon as this afternoon, in the Bay of Campeche. This system is forecast to move west-northwestward this weekend towards the eastern Mexico and ultimately moving inland by Monday. An Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft is en route to investigate the system, and interests in southeastern Mexico should monitor the progress of this system. Tropical storm watches or warnings could be required for portions of the Mexican Gulf Coast as soon as this afternoon. Regardless of cyclone development, locally heavy rains are ongoing over portions of Guatemala and southeastern Mexico and will continue during the next few days. 70% probability in the next 48 hours, 70% in the next 7 days. So those are some stuff and those are some factors that you're going to want to pay attention to. So well, as you're taking a look at it right here, essentially what we're thinking is, okay, this is really organizing. How is this organizing, and what's the Hurricane Hunter aircraft finding? Because they are currently in there right now. And as you can go ahead and take a quick look at it, here's what they're looking at. They've recently put out a dropsend, I believe. I believe this is a dropsend, or this is extrapolated pressure. Right now, the extrapolated pressure, at least from what they're finding, is about 1,012 millibars, with this right here at the center of this, and it does look like it is about to close off according to what I'm seeing here. It does look like the core is starting to close off. It looks like tropical development is about to occur if it hasn't already. At least the northern part of it has closed off. The southern part of it is a little bit iffy, but regardless of that, you're noticing more and more rotation. It looks like an LCL is present at this current time, or low-level circulation. Sorry, I said LCL, I meant LLC, or a low-level circulation. A mid-level circulation, we're a little bit trying to figure out whether it's there or not. That's why the NHC is out at this current point. So we're going to have to watch, and we're going to have to pay attention to that as well. So that's the situation with the Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance. We'll continue to keep up tabs on this, and we'll continue to update you on that. But now let's go ahead and quickly take a look at some satellite imagery. And we're going to use the DAPIA website since that can give us some more data and more information going forward to see kind of, okay, what's going on with this and how is this evolving and how is this progressing. What you're noticing now is you're noticing more convection going on right here. You're noticing more organized convection as well. By the way, seizure warning for those of you who are prone to epilepsy. I do apologize for that. As this continues to load, we're going to wait for that to load as we continue to get the data. All right, here we go. Oh, let me go ahead and pause this and get this through, and then we'll go ahead and show you. We're noticing more organization. We're noticing more stuff going on. Actually, hold up a second. Yeah, we're noticing a little bit more organization. You're noticing more rotation with the satellite imagery as well, paying attention to that as well. You're noticing more convection too happening near and firing near the center of circulation as well. And we'll have to see how this will ultimately evolve and how this will ultimately start to organize and develop as it approaches Mexico, the Mexican coast At least as of right now, this is expected to potentially make landfall near the Veracruz region on Sunday or early Monday morning. So we're going to have to see how that will ultimately pan out. So this is the satellite imagery we're taking a look at. I do want to take a look at it more kind of a long-term kind of look at it, like what's been going on over the last few hours with this. So you're noticing more convection flaring up near the center of circulation. You're noticing a little bit less starting to happen on the southern side of it as well. Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance is finding this as well. And the way I'm looking at this is there's two things I'm paying attention to. Number one, just the overall organization of the convection looks leagues better than it did last night. And number two, just the way where it's at right now. Where it's currently at, there's no apparent shear in this pocket right here that is stopping it. So we're going to have to pay attention to that as well. And I do want to pull up the wind shear map very quickly to see what's going on with this. Where it's at right now, it's kind of in a pocket. It's in a pocket of about, I'd say, 20 to 25 knots of wind shear. But at least on satellite, it doesn't look like it's really affecting it that much, and it's really not that present. So we're going to have to pay attention to that going forward, and we'll continue to keep you updated on that because we did talk about it on stream last night on how shear was potentially going to be the main thing that inhibits this. But at this current point, because it's over water, it's over relatively warm water as well, we're going to have to see how that will ultimately kind of cancel out, essentially, because you're not going to see much dry air with this system. You have plenty of vorticity with this system, too. You have plenty of rotation with this going forward, and you have plenty of very, very warm water, around 28 to 29 degrees Celsius, which is about 82 to 84 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you living in the United States. And by and large, what you're noticing with this area of interest with 91L, hopefully, potentially, we're not sure, will soon become Barry, as this will may be the second storm of the season. We'll have to see how that pans out. But by and large, it's off to a very good start, and we're going to have to see how this will ultimately go moving forward. So that's your situation going on with the satellite imagery. I do want to take a quick look at water vapor imagery just to show you this. It's in a moist environment right now, and there is some present wind shear more so to the north of it, but by and large, it's not really doing that much. It's not really affecting its development path or anything like that. And we'll have to see how this develops going forward. Models have been picking up on this too. I've been looking at the hurricane models. They are kind of a bit wonky, I would say, for a few reasons, but we'll kind of see what's going on. So we have the H-Wharf. This has been kind of the most consistent one out of the batch. So you have the system organizing, developing, gets down to 1,002 millibar system. And just out of curiosity, I do want to take a look at the main sea level pressure winds. This has it maxing out around 43 knots or so, which is if my math serves me right, that is about, I'd say, 50 miles per hour. So the H-Wharf wants this to be a 50 mile per hour tropical storm as it crashes near Veracruz and in the Mexican coast on the Bay of Campeche side as it moves through over there. So you're going to want to see how this will pay attention to. That's the H-Wharf going right there. The H-Wharf has had the biggest handle on this system right here. The H-Mon, the halves runs, they've been kind of not so good with this. Like, I can show you the H-Mon, see if they can kind of fixing this. The H-Mon 12Z actually has fixed this quite a bit. I would say they fixed the issue for sure. I can show you, go ahead and take a look at the 6C with this right here. 6C H-Mon was kind of, actually, no, the 6C's also been doing pretty good with this. But looking at the 0Z, it was kind of all over the place with the H-Mon. Now I'm glad that they're fixing this, and now we have some ideas of what may be going on. But ultimately, this system's organizing and developing right here. Taking a quick look at the main sea level pressure winds. Looks like the max it gets up to is about 41 knots, which is around 45-ish miles per hour. It's around 47 to be more exact, but around 45 miles per hour as it makes landfall. So the H-Wharf and the H-Mon are forecasting the system to develop into a tropical storm as it approaches the Mexican coast. And then looking at the Halves A run, if we can show this, unfortunately the Halves A is having, it's still having some problems trying to get this a handle on this. Looking at the Halves B run, taking a look at this, they're also having issues with this. So that's some stuff that we're going to have to pay attention to. Looking at some more operational runs, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the European and the GFS in this region as well to see, okay, how is this system developing? How is this system organizing? The GFS is kind of having a handle on it. It does have a closed low on this, but it doesn't really have that much of a low pressure system affiliated with this at this current point. And this is a situation I would also want to stress that, at least with the exception of the HMON, the H-Wharf, models are one thing, but conditions are a whole other ballpark. And this system is organizing considerably quicker than I think a lot of these models and a lot of these forecasts have anticipated. So I think that's something you're going to want to pay attention to as well. So the GFS kind of does have a closed low on it, but by and large, it doesn't really show a low pressure system or has a good handle on the intensity of it, I would say. But taking a quick look at it, I do want to take a quick gander at the wind shear with this as well. But ultimately, you're taking a look at the wind shear. Yes, it's currently, there is a pocket of low wind shear on the southern part of the Bay of Campeche over here, where this area of interest, 91L, is situated. But ultimately, there is going to be an increase of wind shear as it moves towards the coast over here. And then by the time it makes landfall, there's not much else that's going to be happening. Land interaction is going to completely kill it off. And that's what we have going on so far. Taking a look at the European as well, trying to get a grasp of it as well. The European does have a decent grasp of it, has a closed low with it as well. But again, models are one thing, conditions are a whole other ballpark. Looking at the Canadian run, taking a look at the 12Z, not as big of a grasp on it as some of the other runs have. Icon doesn't have a big grasp on it either, but we'll have to see what happens and we'll have to pay attention to it going forward. But what do I think is going to happen at this current rate, at the rate this system is going? I do think we're going to see some development either this afternoon or tonight, officially by the NHC. I would not be surprised if we see either of those. In terms of what we could be seeing, I think the more conservative route would be a potential tropical cyclone based on these new intensity estimates and based on the fact that this system is quickly organizing and developing. That way, they can put out tropical storm warnings across parts of the eastern Mexican coast over there. So that way, we can get people informed and say, "Hey, we're looking at a potential tropical storm-like system. You're going to want to pay attention to that." So I think that's ultimately the situation that we're going to see with that. Maybe a potential tropical cyclone if it hasn't quite developed. It hasn't closed its mid-level circulation quite yet. But by and large, I do see that happening. And then if that PTC does go into effect, we may see development happening later tonight. That's my best guess based on these estimates and based on the fact that we're seeing a lot of factors going into this. But we will keep you updated on this on Pat's Path Predictor on the channel as well. I know there is some talk of maybe a stream going on behind the scenes. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do that tonight. It's going to depend on a few other factors as well, but we'll keep you updated on that. I'll let you know on my community tab, so you'll be the first to know. And once I put a stream up, you'll know we're streaming if we do that. But ultimately, those are the factors and those are the conditions we're paying attention to with Invest 91L, rapidly organizing, rapidly developing situation once again. Now let's go ahead and move on to some other areas. I want to first talk potentially about that East Coast area that may be developing, as well as some more main development region updates as well. So taking a quick look at this right here, we do have finally weather nerds back up compared to what we had last night, at least starting with what we're seeing potentially with at least in regards to what's potentially happening in Florida along the East Coast. Now, granted, a lot of this is like a week out and all of that, so please do keep that in mind. So like starting off with this, we're looking at the system potentially developing about 6 to 7 days out starting. You're starting to notice these areas around the 4th of July starting to pop up along the Carolina coast and Florida over here. But as time goes on, as you get to 192 hours out over here, you're noticing a lot more of these ensemble runs are really starting to pop up. Right here, you're seeing a lot more of these lows, and you're seeing a lot more of these tracks over here. Now, some of these runs are a bit more cold cored than warm cored. For example, you're looking at some of these like 50 to 60 mile per hour knot winds across parts of the Atlantic coast over here, off the coast of New Jersey and New York. Those are most likely cold core. The warm core stuff is most likely further to the south, so you're going to want to pay attention to it. Also, I'm a little curious about a little bit going on too in terms of potential development. I'm also a little curious as to what's going on with this area right here and why the ensembles are picking up on something going on over there. What's this European ensemble turning up over here across parts of the Gulf and parts of the Atlantic basins north of Cuba right here? That's something I'm a little bit more iffy on, so we'll have to pay attention to that. But ultimately, the situation that what we have right there is kind of, there is some uncertainty regarding to that, but the chances have increased quite a bit, at least in terms of the ensembles. And there are some conditions that do support development as well. Taking a look at the GFS ensembles, they've also updated as well, taking a quick look at the 12Z and also the 0Z as well, showing that that's starting to kind of turn up and ramp up a little bit as well, so we're going to have to pay attention to that. But looking at some of the conditions, you have plenty of warm water. I can go ahead and show you this. You're looking at a lot of warm water too. Taking a quick look at the latest map, if we can pull it up, looking at 29 plus degrees Celsius waters along the Gulf Stream. If this system develops along the Gulf Stream, it's going to be in good shape for going forward. Now, there is other factors like dry air and wind shear to pay attention to, but if it does move over the Gulf Stream, it's going to be in good shape to potentially organize and develop even further if it does happen. And we'll keep you updated on that here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. But I do want to take a quick look at the wind shear. Let's go ahead and go back to the models very quickly. Let's pull up the European, and I do want to pull up the 250 to 800 millibar wind shear, at least from the 0Z right here, to kind of gauge, okay, what's the wind shear, what's the moisture in this region going to look like? So taking a quick look at this, you do have relatively low wind shear on the first and the second and the third. But starting around the 4th of July, you do notice an increase of wind shear across some parts of Florida, although there is a little bit of a break in the wind shear, at least if the system moves further to the east with this right here. So if it kind of moves south of this pocket of wind shear and this trough over here, and it beats it out, you do have a higher chance for tropical development. And because this is going to be moving somewhat parallel to the wind shear, and it's going to kind of get caught into the outflow, you're going to have some pretty good outflow if it does develop and it moves far enough south away from this jet right here. Now, taking a look at the moisture, this is a little bit more interesting, and there's a little bit of a case to take a look at right here. You do have a moisture pocket across some parts of Florida and parts of the Carolinas, but there is a lot of dry air invading it by around the 7th. And if it does develop, it looks like it's going to be very temporary according to dry air, because I do think the dry air is going to be the main inhibitor to development if it does occur in that region. So that's something to pay attention to as well. Now, shifting over now to parts of the main development region, let's go ahead and take a quick look, because now we're looking at all these factors in the short term. What's going to be potentially be happening in the long run? Because I know we talked with Weather Kingdom about the MJO starting to ramp up. You're noticing the wind shear patterns really starting to get more volatile. What's going to be happening starting in July, and what's going to be happening in the long term? And very briefly, taking a quick gander at this, you do notice a pretty big increase of moisture in parts of the MDR starting around July 5th and July 6th. And part of it is because the ITZZ starts to starts to fire up again. Part of it's because of tropical waves. Part of it's because of the Sahel region. But you are paying attention to also parts of this of the dust over here. Taking a quick look from from a little bit from yesterday, and seeing it looks like, according to the 0Z, it is a little bit less intense farther to the south in the tropics, but ultimately that's something you're going to want to pay attention to. And looking at the precipitable water anomalies with this, you're still noticing a little bit of more mixed signals. I'm noticing with the dust starting to get in there, but you are noticing the tropical waves really starting to eat up and increase the precipitable water anomalies in that region as well. That, coupled with an MJO starting to kick in around, I'd say, July 13th, July 14th in that region, you could see a better probability for development. Even the European has a little bit of a low-pressure system tagged over here along the ITCZ, but that's way too early to determine what's going to be happening. Taking a quick gander at the GFS as well, just to kind of corroborate this whole thing. Ultimately, the GFS is showing a more moist environment in that region, and taking a quick gander at their wind shear as well. Taking a look at that. You are noticing the wind shear becomes a lot less, especially as you get to July 11th and 12th. Yes, you have some wind shear, but by the 14th of July, the wind shear is weakened down to a pretty considerable margin, to the point where tropical development could happen if you have enough moisture, the Sahara dust moves far enough north, and you, of course, have those warm waters to supplement that. So those are all factors we're paying attention to, and we will keep you updated on that here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close the video out right here. I really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. The goal, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. If you want to help out, hang out, or ask us questions, be sure to join the Storms United Discord server. The link to that is in the end screen. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.